life is it's just so friggin' different, you guys. I can't tell you how different it is getting out of bed in the morning compared to how the way it used to be. And just be driven by a sense of like joy and freedom. And I mean, I get to talk football with my friends in a podcast in front of a mic, and that's exactly what I used to do, but not in front of a mic. So it's like it's just play basically, and I think that's something that adults these days do not have enough time for.
Welcome to the Unblock Yourself podcast, our show where we explore what makes it hard to bring ideas to life and learn from people who have done it already so that you can do it too. Today, we're talking to Nordström. You might not know his name, but his listeners definitely do. We met Yoon on a dock at the cottage this summer and quickly learned he runs the biggest supporter podcast for one of Sweden's top football clubs, Malmö FF, basically the Leafs or Yankees of Sweden. He's kind of a big deal, but he'd never say that. Yoon shares how he left the corporate grind for a life where, as he puts it, he gets to play all day. He gives tactical, honest advice for anyone dreaming about starting something creative, whether it's a podcast or anything else. And as an expert marketer, he also breaks down what most entrepreneurs get wrong in their marketing strategies and plans. If you run a business or want to start one, you're going to want to hear what he has to say. For longtime listeners of this show, this might be your favorite episode yet. And for Yoon's fans, we're excited to share a new side of the man behind the mic. We had a ton of fun with this one, and we hope you enjoy our conversation with Yoon Nordström.
Okay, Yoon, so great to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining us. We met in the summertime, and we met on a dock in beautiful Northern Ontario. We were actually at our cottage, and we have a mutual friend, and we had a chance to meet you and your wonderful wife and your cool children, and they got along with our children. That was all awesome. And then we started talking about what we do, and you mentioned you have a podcast, and we're like, oh, that's cool, tell us more about that. So it was just we've been talking about having you on this podcast to talk a bit about what you do and the work that you do. You're from Sweden, I guess I should mention that, and you have a podcast, and maybe I'll pause there and let you share a bit about the work that you do.
Sure. Thanks for having me, you guys. I've been really looking forward to this. And I should maybe clarify further that I actually not only am I from Sweden, I live in Sweden as well. So this is one of the few occasions on which I get to practice my English. So it's actually my first ever podcast in English.
Oh, really?
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, so far so good. You're about 20 words in, and it sounds perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you so much for being such gracious hosts as well in Ontario this summer. It was really cool running into you, and yeah, life is funny that way, isn't it? Like shared on friends and hobbies and interests and whatnot, which just brought us here. Yeah, so I do a bit of marketing. That's where I come from, at least that's my background. I started in communications, and then I did marketing for 15 years, online marketing. And I do a couple of freelance gigs these days, about 10%, and then I do the rest. I do podcasting. I make a support a podcast for the local football team here, soccer team, I should say.
I know.
Yeah, I do 2 of those for the local football team, and then I do 2 others that I'm involved in that are a bit different, that are more like the overall. Us talking about the league basically at large, and then I'm a reoccurring guest in a couple of other like YouTube channels and TV shows and whatnot here in Sweden. So there's a lot of podcasting, and you know what? Now that I say it out loud and reflecting a bit, I think it's probably good that I still do a bit of marketing on the side. Still, I'm not completely sucked into that bubble of podcasting, because people who are, I don't know. I'm not sure, you guys.
Don't trust them. You gotta diversify, right?
Yeah, I think it's good to be in both worlds still, if only a bit. I think people who are only podcasting, I don't know about North America, but in Sweden they tend to be a bit assholey.
Well, I think we gotta ask about that. And for our purposes, we are in lots of different worlds. So I think we passed the asshole test here at least. And
We hope so.
Yeah, podcasting.
Did I start off by offending you guys?
No, this is great. We podcasting is a part of what we do, but we never started this with the idea of thinking, okay, this is our moneymaker. This is going to be the core to our economic machine. I think podcast for us was something that we felt was a great way to reach new people, a great way to have interesting conversations with people like you and some others that we've had so far. And it's been also something that we just enjoy doing. It's kind of a fun thing to do. So it's never a core part of the business, but before we get into some of the mechanics of podcasting and whether it's still a good thing to get into or not, I think you've got to give some context, if you don't mind, because a lot of our listeners are going to be North American based. We do hope that we have some of your Swedish listeners here with us today. And hello to all of you who are new to the Unblock Yourself podcast and are following Yoon on this adventure he's on with us. But can you give some context for any listeners who are North American based for the podcast that you run and that work you do? What would be Sweden to North American translation or equivalent, just to give some context for the team you cover and the league you cover. And we know scale is different. Sweden's a smaller country, of course, but I mean, is this a Joe Rogan thing? Is this a Tim Ferriss thing? Is there a different sort of level of scope that you would fall into?
Yeah, great question. I think, there's one. Well, to begin with, it's a supporter podcast. So it's I studied communications, so I'm like one semester shy from being a journalist on paper, but that's definitely not the approach of the podcast. Like I'm cursing myself blue, for instance, and I think and it's so much better for me just because of the way I am. If I was, I think I would have felt held back if I was working for like a magazine or like a official like channel somehow. So to work between, like I would never want to be hired by the club, and I for sure wouldn't want to work for a newspaper. So to run my own thing is actually very optimal for me, to speak Tim Ferriss. I think a North American equivalent would be like basically, having a supporter podcast for the Toronto Maple Leafs, with the difference, unfortunately, being that the Leafs never actually win, whereas my club win. Yeah. Freaking hell, guys. Did you see the Blue Jays losing out in Game 7 as well?
Okay.
I was really rooting for them.
Too soon. It's too soon.
Yeah, right? Sorry,
it
guys. But it's me too, eh? Holy cow.
You're in Sweden, and you know that the Leafs lose all the time.
Oh,
I find that hysterical.
I used to live in Toronto, but
oh right, yes, you did. Okay.
But having said that, I mean, for being such a big sports city, Toronto just cannot get a double V. I mean,
I know,
holy shit!
I know. What the heck?
It's rough. So the baseball win is actually it's actually still too fresh. I don't want to talk about the fact that
you're right.
The Blue Jays didn't win.
No, we can't.
But in true Canadian style, I will say that what's been published across the country in newspapers and all the media suggests, they didn't win, but they did so much good for Canada. They brought us all together, So this is true Canadian style that we're good with. We're good with a solid effort, boys. Way to go, Blue Jays. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's good. It's you got to focus on the positive. For sure. That's Canadian, by the way. I must say. But yeah.
So I think that's good context, though. So I mean, we're talking major team, major league, major following.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest Malmö FF podcast, which is fun to say because. Well, for one, the local newspaper is actually, that's owned by, it's like a third biggest newspaper in all of the Nordics. They've been sponsoring the team for ages. Their podcast has been on since 2014, so it's way older, and skin in the game really counts. Like it's a bit of an avalanche. You just sort of catch audience as you go, like over the years, catch listeners. So for us to be bigger year 5 than them, with all that backing, not the least monetary, is pretty wild. And to be honest, it's not something that I ever really think about, because I would just I think I would lose myself in it. Probably I would think of the end result while recording if I did, instead of like thinking, let's have fun and let's talk about the game. I would probably get a bit of vertigo almost, because I know for a fact, like, most players listen. The old assistant, he listened to every episode. He even wrote me saying that, like, he takes in all that we say. He doesn't always necessarily agree, but he takes it all in. Stuff like, which is probably the best ever compliment I ever got for the show, by the way.
Sure. Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I mean, I'm just this dude, like a supporter, sitting chatting away with my friends, and then there's just thousands listening to every episode, and it's really humbling. It's really flattering, and it's really dope, because also, again, like, I'm not
dope.
Well, but there's so many dimensions to it. Like, for one, I'm having a lot of integrity doing this show, because I'm just literally 100% myself doing it, and that really comes at a price as well. Because like, for instance, now that the team hasn't performed at all this year, I get hundreds and sometimes thousands of emails every week going, what the heck is happening, Jon? How can we do better? So I have to sort of deal with my personal disappointment, as well as just added hours upon hours of, because I still respond to every email as well, and I should probably definitely stop doing that now, because holy cow, this season, man, it's really, like, I've grown great chest hair since we saw in summer.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Like, I'm curious, you, like, okay, and the team, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. So it's Malmö?
Yes.
Malmö.
Yeah, I would say Malmö, but your way of saying it sounds nicer.
Malmö.
My accent is a bit aggressive, or so I'm told.
No, I think it sounds great. I love the accent. So did you just love this team? Did you grow up following them? And, like, how did you decide, you know what, I'm going to, start a podcast and talk all about this team? It's very specific, and it's kind of like this creative, project that you then turned into something professional, which I think is super cool. Because a lot of people don't do that. They're like an accountant, or they do something that it's like, it doesn't really necessarily tie personal interest to. So, like, how did that come to be for you?
Yeah, so I was just being on one of my evening strolls with a friend 8 years back, and we both like walking, and we like talking. We specifically enjoy talking about football together. And like an asshole, I was potentially thinking to myself, I think people would actually listen to this. Like, I think people would, like, if this was a podcast, people would listen in. So we started a podcast which wasn't backed by anyone or anything. It was just us, like, basically trying to have fun with it. And we were for sure having fun with it for 2 years, and then we basically stopped. I mean, I got my second kid, and I was working a full-time position doing marketing, obviously, but then a year after that, I got a phone call from Spotify, basically asking if I wanted to make a podcast with them, because they were going for Allsvenskan, which is the name of the league, and like exclusive podcast for the league, and one for every team. So yeah, they asked me and another guy to start a podcast for Malmö FF. So that's sort of how it came into becoming professional. Yeah.
I feel like you said that so, like, nonchalant. I just got a call from Spotify one day.
we're waiting for our call.
It's like, okay. I feel like if that call came in, I'd be like, this is a scam. I wouldn't even believe it.
It was pretty wild, because, okay, so there's actually one more detail to that story. I wrote on my Twitter saying, I'm considering creating a second podcast now for Malmö FF. Is anyone interested in editing it? Because I'm not into technicalities, as I think I've explained to you guys. I don't like tech all too much. So I got a call from them, and then actually 3 other magazines asking me to do to write for them, as well as doing podcasts for them. So I think there's a lesson there, or not a lesson necessarily. That sounds pretentious as well, but, like, I think if you want to, it's a bit like that. What's that guy, Shia LaBeouf? Like that meme, just do it. It really is with art or anything that you feel like doing. Like, if you're pursuing your inner joy, something will always come of that, even if it's just the actual joy. And the fact that we did that, me and my friend Johan, shout out, for 2 years, with no backing, no nothing other than just for the fun of it. And then that turning into like a Spotify exclusive. I mean, it's, now that you mention it, yeah, it is pretty wild. But yeah, that's how it came to be. And I think that is how the universe works as well.
I could not agree more with that sentiment. There's people that when they speak and they're excited about something, you get excited about it. Listening to you talk about a football team in a league in the Nordics and in Europe. I mean, we pay attention to, again, the Blue Jays and the Maple Leafs, but I mean, I want to tune in and understand more about, well, what's happening with Malmö this year, and like what we need to get the inside scoop. And so I think that there really is something to that. And it's a story that I keep coming back to, but it was a lesson that I think has been so powerful for me. And then it's translated to what we're building. Is years ago, I was burning out a little bit in the job that I was doing, and it was in sales and in tech, and I just felt like I needed something to maybe just light my spark again. And I was given that advice. It was something that I needed to do. And long story short, started selling cheese at a farmer's market on the weekends. And this little cheese stand that I started working at just on a whim on Saturday mornings went from $400 a week to $800 a week to $2,000 a week. And I was personally just so passionate and excited about it. And then I started meeting cheesemakers and going to the Canadian cheese competition, and then started, building a business plan on cheese distribution. Like things, when you follow that energy, it just opens up doors. It just does. And I think we talk a lot in conversations like this, but in our programming, about this idea that people get afraid to try something. And so often it's this fear of failure, obviously, because you don't want to try something. You try a podcast and nobody listens, or you sound like an idiot or an asshole, and people maybe say nasty things about you. But I think there's also a fear of, well, what if this actually succeeds? Like, what would it mean if I had to quit my job and become a podcaster because people, and what if that meant that I had to make less money or whatever? And so there's a lot in all of that. But when you were doing this, you were just following a passion. When Spotify approaches you, is this a moment for you, Yoon, where it's like you've got to make a choice to leave a career that is going to be less financially lucrative, or there's a lot of unknowns, and you took a big risk, or was there a big fat paycheck there that made it an easy transition? If you don't mind me asking, because that's what a lot of people face.
No, not at all. No, that's a great question, and I think that has to be something that's on a lot of people's mind that are listening in on this. And I think for me there was definitely not a big paycheck, but I just like you, I just gotten to a point where I just couldn't really cut it in the corporate environment any longer. As I mentioned earlier, I have a tad of ADHD for one, which makes it even more difficult, I think, for a lot of people with ADHD. And for me, that it just wasn't like, I think that I need a purpose. I think that it's definitely like, it needs more like, I need more autonomy. Is that how you put it?
Mm-hmm. Autonomy.
Yeah. And yes, for me to be able to be much more creative and be more unapologetically myself than I'm allowed to in a corporate environment. Like for instance, in Canada, you guys are so great at the corporate game. Like you can sort of, it doesn't seem to bother you guys as much culturally the way it does for people here in Sweden, because in Sweden you're like, you're truly like one person at work and one person outside of work. You're much more like just flowing in between those like personalities. I don't have a good way of putting that, but for me, I basically got into a point like there's a book called The Artist's Way. I don't know if you heard of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So and it comes with a lot of tasks and a lot of like practical things that you can perform in the book. And once you do that, the consequence is basically, oh, okay, I'm definitely not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then what do you make with that? Like, okay, so now I know I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Life is short. And then after that, like for me anyways, I just felt, okay, I won't be making as much money initially anyways, but do I really need more money? Because what do I do with my money? Like I basically spend it all day on eBay because I'm just bored out of my mind. I was literally falling asleep in front of my computer, you know? And like, so I think for me, I just didn't have a choice. It just got to that point.
I think that the idea of you made something that was successful, and then you were approached, and it wasn't. I think it's easy to make it sound like or feel like, well, Spotify called, so they offered you millions of dollars, and away you went, like easy for you. And so thank you for just sharing that it's probably not that. It's probably like Spotify called. That's pretty exciting, and they offered some amount of money, and you're like, well, shoot, I've been given an opportunity to do something that's really exciting to me. There's probably no pension and benefits and all the things that come with a full-time job associated with it.
No, it's exactly like that. But it's like I actually read about comedians now dropping comedy shows on Netflix where they basically lose money in order to release them.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's not the kind of a raw deal that I got, thankfully. But for me, I mean, starting from scratch and in this business too, I mean, it's not as if people are just like struggling money over you for nothing. We get a pretty good deal given that we started out with 0 listeners, right? Because it was just a podcast from scratch. But now, like, I mean, 5 years down the line, like I'm well, comfortable. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like I'm not stressed by money. And if I was, to be honest, like I'd be. This is probably a better way of putting it. If I was forced to eat tuna every day of the week, every meal, I would happily do it.
Because, to keep doing what you're doing.
As I was telling you, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I was telling you, Whitney, but before starting, you were telling me about one of your retreats lately, and how one of the guys that was attending was saying that it was like transformational for him. That he felt like that people were asking if he was doing drugs at work because he just seemed like a new guy altogether. Yeah. And I totally get that. It's actually it's exact same for me. Ever since I sort of I started doing this, I feel like I've rediscovered my own, not inner child, but like my childlike joy. I keep reading about people like, well, I don't have enough energy like at life. I'm 40 plus. Is that it? Or like, is my coffee not strong enough? No, you don't do stuff that you care about, not to the extension that you should be. Anyways, because that really is, I'm not going to say the only drugs because drugs are fun, but some people would say.
Some people might say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That live pretty close to Berlin, Germany. But truly, like if you do something that you enjoy and you're willing to pay the price, in terms of maybe less work stability, smaller paycheck, it pays dividends in so many other ways. So do unblock yourself, good people.
There's the pitch. Thank you. Hey there, quick pause and we'll get right back to the show. In January, we launched Unblock Yourself, a program designed to help people take action on an idea or a professional change that they're looking to make. Since then, we've run 3 groups. Unblockers have launched new businesses or side hustles, they've changed careers and launched initiatives to power social change. If I'm honest, we wanted it to be good, but it's been even more powerful than we could have ever imagined. Our next group kicks off in January, where we'll be helping another group of people start the new year strong and in action. If anything I said excites you or scares you, it might be what you're looking for. Learn more at vienna-weights.com/unblockyourself or email us at unblockyourself@vienna-weights.com. All right, back to the show.
You have this other expertise and you still do a bit of marketing. You've been so helpful to us, and we can actually turn the mic around and have you maybe give advice to people who are listening to this, who are wanting to start something and get moving on their own business, whether it's a podcast or something else. We do have people who listen that probably would love to either monetize a podcast or even just start one. So first of all, do you think it's too late for anybody who has a podcast or an idea and they want to start, do you think it's too late for them to do it just in general, which I think we could anticipate what your answer will be there, but more specifically, what is it too late for somebody who wants to monetize a podcast, given you started all this 8 years ago and it feels like there's just so much content, so many out there? Is that even a realistic thing in the world today to say, I want to start a podcast and have it be a part of our business?
No, I think for sure you should, if that's what you feel like, because again, I think it all comes down to and back to just following your purpose and following the joy. And if you get turned on and excited about the idea of creating a podcast, then definitely, I mean, because you were saying before that you got energy from selling cheese. Well, people are drawn and attracted to energy. Yes, like I ended up sitting on your podcast here today from meeting you guys in summer. So people respond to good vibes basically, and follow energies as well. Like so you should definitely do that. And also I saw earlier today, for instance, that Netflix they've started doing they're gonna start going into video podcasting now. Spotify started doing that earlier this year, which means that they will grow even more and bigger. And Amazon is looking into doing podcasting as well. So I think podcasts for sure are here to stay. It will only grow bigger. I think, now obviously we're recording on in Riverside, sorry, meaning we're on video as well. So we're going to be on YouTube. So basically, I think it's not even just a podcast at this point any longer. It's on YouTube as well, and it's on Instagram. So it's just the way you can approach it is just it's just omni-channel now. And sure, you can call it a podcast, but it's also 10,000 different things as well.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. That's cool. So yeah, when you were here, you were super generous, and you spent part of your holiday spending some time with us at a coffee shop, walking through. You checked out our website and gave us some marketing advice, which was so great. And we still need to implement a lot of what you've shared and suggested. But curious, Yoon, just with your marketing background and all the work that you've been doing with podcasts, but beyond just the podcast, what are some common things that people common mistakes or things that people do out of the gate when they're first starting something on their own?
Well, if you start with the marketing respect of it, I think people tend to forget about the end customer, whatever that is. If it's a matter of selling a product or a service, people tend to get too obsessed with themselves. So you start writing inside out rather than the other way around. So I would say to start off, yes, know your customer, and well, actually ask the target audience, what problem is it that your product or service solve? And then basically create everything your marketing, how to put it, your strategy after that. Make the copy about it, and definitely also don't go into the nitty gritty of the product. Meaning, for instance, if you sell a car, you're not selling 4 tires and a steering wheel. You're selling freedom to go anywhere in any place. So that's going to be your copy, just like any car commercial, basically. But it's so easy, especially for me. I used to work in a lot of tech companies, business to business, and it's just obviously run by nerds, engineers trying to go into our AI solution, whatever. And it's yeah, that's cool, but is that about the problem that it solves, or is that what your target audience actually wants to read about? And it can be. I mean, sure, if you're creating AI, chances are there is a geek on the other side hitting click to buy it. So then, yeah, it can be that you should actually go into the nitty-gritty and technical details. But for the most part, it's not. So try to be customer-centric, and keep asking yourself also, what is it that we actually sell, and what problem does it solve?
How much of all of this comes from your marketing background, which a lot of your audience probably wouldn't even know that you have, right?
That's true, yeah.
And so, I mean, you said you're doing 10% still of this marketing work today. But I mean, everything you just described and the advice, I mean, the hours you spent going through our content, giving us feedback and helping us to adjust what we were doing, it just seems so relevant to even just how how you create and what you create. Do you intentionally thinking from the customer perspective when you're recording a podcast or doing any of your TV appearances or anything like that?
That is a great question. And I think since I was fortunate enough to get into this podcasting game by not being funded by anyone and just doing it for the sake of having fun, basically creating art for the sake of art, that I realized early on that was what got people engaged and that was what got people turned on to the podcast. So I think it's actually the very opposite when you create a podcast. I think it's about basically, having fun and just being knowledgeable and not like, I mean, my producer brain never turns off because I want to make sure that every second is worthwhile for the listener. But having said that, I don't adjust any content or meaning what I say. And I definitely don't keep them in the back of my head. Like, well, what are you going to think about this? Should I talk about this next? It's more a matter of just trying to make it as qualitative as possible. Because I think when people are listening in on a podcast, especially like a supporter podcast, which is basically me and a couple of friends shooting the shit about the football team, hopefully as knowledgeable as we possibly can, they don't... Yeah, I think it's just like people just want to hang out and have someone to hold their hand after a win or after, even more so after losing probably. So yeah, it's a bit like I think like the Impressionists back in the 19th century in France, like Van Gogh, Cézanne, Miro, and all of those French artists. They couldn't, like Van Gogh, I think, sold 2 paintings in his lifetime. One of them was basically to his brother, and But he created the art that he felt that he had to get out of his system, and ultimately that proved to be extremely worthwhile and like monetary wise worth a lot of money. But like most artists, of course, like he didn't sell shit during his lifetime. But my point is, you cannot be too like obsessed about what people think while you create art, because it will people will be able to tell. It won't be the magic will get lost, and secondly, it will not be fun for you. And if it's not fun, why even bother?
Yeah, it's so true. Just be authentic. Do it for you. Yeah, I love that.
So it's opposite, right?
If I think about the way Whitney and I twist ourselves into circles, background, like we were like doing these odd, like super. We brainstorm and whiteboard all this stuff. Like, how do we convey what it is we want to do and the impact that we want to have? And it's like this picture or that picture, these words or those words. It's like this painful and painstaking exercise that is marketing.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, are there ways you can translate some of those principles of like just show up, just be authentic, just be yourself, create something that you want to create? Does that hold up in a marketing context?
Well, I mean, for you guys creating Vienna Weights that you made, I think it's a strength for you and your brand to be as authentic as possible. And I think, I mean, if you read any of the classical like marketing books, like Simon Sinek's Start with a Why, like if every company was created with the intention to basically make the best darn product possible because the inventor or the owner or whoever just couldn't, like Van Gogh just had to get that out of the system, then yes, it is a strength. But other than that, like, and I think it is a strength, like if you can make it look like a strength, it can be a strength as well, because again, passion and energies and vibes, it shines through. But if it's not, I think you get exposed very quickly unless you're very skilled at marketing. And I think a cynic would say that, well, it's all about like exposure, and you can buy exposure anyways if you have the money. And like big companies are too big to fail. Everyone know the brand and whatnot. But so what I'm saying is, I guess if you're a huge company, probably you're fine because you can just buy the exposure and you can get away with not really caring. You can just try to convey that you do to a good enough extent. But if you're a startup, for sure, like yeah, authenticity is great. And I can actually give you some advice on a new great AI service that you can use to create websites. It's called lovable.dev. Lovable.dev. It's a startup company from Stockholm that's just been showered in money. I don't know if people know, probably they don't, but Stockholm, Sweden is actually like the second hotspot of AI in the world. It's the biggest place outside of the States. So yeah, Lovable is great for creating apps as well as websites, and it's just like it's like Chat GPT. You just create prompts until you're happy with your website, and that's probably my second advice, by the way. If you're considering like SEO optimizing, as I told you guys in summer, there's also now, of course, AIO and AEO optimization, which is for like search engines, for instance. So for ChatGPT and for Google Gemini. And well, to begin with, those come up on top, right, of the SERP, like of search results. And secondly, it's all the rage amongst the kids. So no one like south of 25 years of age is Googling any longer. They're Chat GPTing or Google Geminiing, meaning starting now and going forward, that's what all the rage will be. So SEO, I'm not going to say it's too late for that, but that's going to be less and less important, and AIO and AEO optimization will be more and more. And there's plenty of great prompts to optimize your website for that on Chat GPT.
Interesting. Did you write that down?
And people are not doing this, by the way, I can tell you. Like that's been available for like, AIO optimization has been like ongoing for at least 2 years. And I rarely see websites that are optimized for it still.
Yeah, for sure. It's new and things are moving quickly. Well, we'll put that link definitely in the show notes so that that people have it. I'm curious, actually, if we were to start fresh with a website, it'd be interesting to see if we use that. What would come out?
You can even put your website. You can put it in your website and just tell it to improve it. It's done.
Everybody should do that. Amazing. Is it a free service?
Yeah, it is. To a point, it's like ChatGPT. You get a couple of prompts, but I think I don't know. Like it's not a lot. I don't even think it's $100. So
okay.
Yeah.
So it might be worth it. That's awesome. Thank you for those tips.
Whitney, like, don't you agree? We spend so much of our time just on that. Like, we spend so much of our time, like, second guessing our positioning, second guessing, like, how we're going to say things or how we're going to position things. I just feel like this is, I don't know, we just speaking to anybody who's listening. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even yesterday we spent like an entire morning talking about our like positioning statement, and it's important. The words you use and the words you say matter, right? Obviously.
It is. It is. Yeah. Especially for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's been a year and we're getting a bit more crisp and clear on, okay, what is it that we actually do? Who do we actually help? Like you have to get to that point for sure. So I think it's definitely a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yoon, that's great. I love that like advice in terms of that was like tactical, awesome marketing, like hands-on advice. I'd like to go a bit more higher level for a minute. And obviously like you're very entrepreneurial. It's built into you. And you know, knowing your wife, I think you've both had kind of unconventional career paths, which have been really cool to learn about. But curious about what advice you might have for anyone. And I guess the context to this is we have quite a few people that come through our program that are feeling blocked, hence why this podcast is called Unblock Yourself, but they're feeling blocked in some way, maybe want to do something different with their lives or careers and just aren't doing it. So what advice might you give to someone to help them, you know, start making those moves towards doing something professionally meaningful to them? I got there.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for me, I was fortunate in the sense that I didn't really have a choice once I've read that book, and I also just felt for the longest time I just felt that I wasn't on the right path. But I think one thing, like you said at the beginning, I don't know, maybe it was you, Greg, who said that people are fearful, like they don't want to fail. And I mean, who does? But it doesn't have to be that like dramatic. It doesn't have to be like, I'm gonna try this, and if I fail it, I will have to go back to like cleaning floors at McDonald's or whatever. Like it can be, you can start out as a for it to be like a side hustle for one. It can also be well heck, chances are if you do quit your 9 to 5, you will be able to get another 9 to 5 as well. Sorry, it's getting late here, local time.
Right.
And again, like I think it should be a joyful experience. And if you put too much on it, like maybe that alone will make it not worth it. If you know what I'm saying. Like I think maybe try the waters a bit if possible. But it also depends. I mean, what I fully recommend, no matter what, is that like just follow your gut, because life truly is too short. I was at a company landscape in yesterday's crazy corporate landscape a couple of days ago, and just watching people sitting there looking so incredibly miserable, and it just seemed like the most toxic environment. And I was just thinking, holy shit, these people. And I mean, yeah, they're all fine. Like they all have their pensions and they have their vacations and they get their money on the 25th each and every month until they don't, like Jim Carrey's father. And then like Jim Carrey said, like, well, you can fail at anything at life, and why not fail at the thing that you wanted to do to begin with? That stuck with me.
That resonates. I think a lot about when we met and how we were introduced, and the funny timing of it, because we're personable people. We meet people all the time. We have conversations, and if you had said, "Oh, I do some podcasting," or I think we would have thought that's super cool. But I think a big part of us would have been a little bit like, well, that's it. Like, we're going to leave it there. I think that's cool that you do that. We don't do that. These are the jobs we do. There's been something really interesting about starting to become creative and starting to pursue our own paths and starting to build something and create something that we're excited about and passionate about. And the energy that's creating is that you say, oh, I'm somebody who creates something too. We go, oh my gosh, tell me more about that. And you say to us, tell me more about that. And all of a sudden we're having this conversation that leads to you being on our podcast and giving us all this great advice, and us being, your breakthrough entry into the North American podcast.
Finally.
Podcast market. But there's something energy giving about having conversations with people who are creating too. And it doesn't need to be full time. We know lots of people who have, whether they've taken our program or their friends, where they have a full-time job that they enjoy or that they need, and they may not love it, or maybe they do, but they have this other thing they do too. And it's usually that other thing that's what makes so many people really interesting.
For sure. And
how cool if you can make that other thing the main thing, which you're doing and which we're striving to do. It's a privilege, and it's an incredible opportunity, and we don't take lightly how fortunate we are to be in that position. But as you said, we would probably also eat tuna and beans in order to make this thing happen if it required it. Like, we've talked about how far we would go to just be able to keep doing this, which I don't know. I think that only comes when you've started. It's hard to feel that level of commitment before you've begun.
Yeah, it's intoxicating. It is a drug, really, because I wouldn't trade. I mean, I used to have back pain, and I just don't any longer. And it's just so funny. Like the older I become, the more I just realize just how it's all so holistic. Just like full 360 everything. Like, there are certain things that still stress me, and I do get like 1 or 2 minute colds every now and then, which I probably shouldn't at 43. But life is just, it's just so friggin' different, you guys. I can't tell you how different it is getting out of bed in the morning compared to the way it used to be. and just be driven by a sense of like joy and freedom. And I mean, I get to talk football with my friends in a podcast in front of a mic, and that's exactly what I used to do, but not in front of a mic. So it's like it's just play basically, and I think that's something that adults these days do not have enough time for. It's like life in the 9 to 5 these days with social media and whatever. Everyone's connected, everyone's commuting to work, everyone's doing long hours and just whatever. I mean, yeah, if you're not built for that, God knows I'm not. Yeah, it takes a great toll, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is so good. A question that we always try to ask, and you've already mentioned a book, and so we'll the book that you mentioned is The Artist's Way was a book that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we've got that one down, but we'll give you a second at bat to stay with our Blue Jays theme for this podcast. Do you have a book, a podcast, a resource, anything else that you might recommend to anyone who's listening to this that goes, I want a little bit of what Yoon has to get me started or get me going? Yeah,
I think that's perfect. Actually, the way you built that by saying to get things going, because Tim Ferriss's podcast is just great. It's all about optimizing life. However, having said that, for me, because like my brain is just hyper, like I cannot get it to shut the F up. So if anything, I need more like laissez-faire in my life. I need to relax more, as my wife keeps telling me, in not so friendly manner all of the time, understandably. I'm just a bit too like, I don't know. I'm competitive. I'm always like problem solving, whether I like it or not, and I always look to optimize everything in my life. So being a bit too into like optimizing life in general, I really enjoy Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching, which I try to read, if not daily, then next to daily, just to get sort of balanced and grounded. I'm just too. I'm basically too much. I'm too German. I need to be more French, less structured, less full on.
Yeah, very cool. I haven't heard of that one either. We'll write that down.
So Thich Nhat Hanh he passed a few years back, a Vietnamese monk who grew up during the Vietnamese War, who is a fairly famous monk and author who has written some amazing books on how to basically slow down and smell the roses, right?
Which everybody could do.
Yeah, God knows I could use some more of that in my life for sure. Yeah,
exactly. Same.
And I mean, if you're an entrepreneurial spirit and if you work a lot or whatever, because I would say that's one of the challenges with being an entrepreneur. Is that like, sure, I left the 9 to 5, but in a way, unless I put a halt to it, like it could easily be 24/7 as well.
Yeah. Preach.
And that's sort of what you recognize yourselves in that, certainly. For me with the podcast, again, like on an off season like this, getting hundreds, if not thousands of emails a week around the clock and me feeling obliged to answer. On top of, again, dealing with my own, like, I'm not going to say depression, but disappointments. It's a lot. So only recently, actually, I started putting my phone away at 7 at night just to do like active rest, I think it's called. And basically just read for an hour.
Good.
Because, it's 5 years of being just like on all the time. I could definitely feel that things weren't going great for me. Yeah,
trading the 9 to 5 for the 5 to 9 or something. I think there's probably something to that isn't overly compelling sounding, but
yeah, exactly. You get to choose when you work, as long as you choose all the fucking time. Oh, you don't like having one boss? How about 15,000 bosses?
So, Yoon, I hate to ask, but you have it's come up a few times. I get the impression that your team's not doing so well this season.
That's correct.
That's correct. So do you think that's turning around seeing as we know nothing, like we're not judging anything. We have, no personal connection, But is there a turnover in their future?
No, there isn't. I was told by the CEO and the chairman last week that they weren't very happy with me. In other words, because I clearly wanted to have them leave their service at the club, which is 100% correct, because it will not be turned around with them at the helm of the club. So. No, I don't. I think a lot of people have to leave in order for it to become good goings again, and I'm not very optimistic for that to happen anytime soon. But there is a meeting occurring, like a membership meeting, in about a month from now, I believe, where hopefully they will basically be made redundant. So fingers crossed.
Okay. All right.
And I may have a name or two that could be the new chairman. But I was told not to share that yet, because then the whole coup might not materialize.
We got to tune into this drama, Whitney.
I know this is a world that we know nothing about. So,
no, guys, you don't have to feel anxious about that. No one cares about Swedish top tier football. I can tell you, not outside of Sweden, anyways. We like it.
That was such a Canadian thing to say. We love Sweden. As Canadians, we think you've got it all figured out. In so many ways, the Nordic countries are among like the happiest in the world, most peaceful in the world. You've got lots of good going on.
So much good. I think we care. We care.
How have you ever met anyone from Finland, guys?
Oh, good question. Not that comes to mind. Probably in.
Does Teemu Selanne count?
Yeah. He is. You're right. Yeah, no, it's just funny because they keep being mentioned as like the happiest country on earth, and if you would have ever met a Finn, you would know for a fact that they're definitely not the happiest country on the planet.
Okay.
Their next door neighbor is Russia, so how could they be?
Okay.
But I don't even think it has to do all too much with that. It's the weather and it's just everything. But having said that, I love Finns, but they're not a happy bunch.
Maybe that's an old statistic. Need a new one.
No, it's fresh. It's brand new. They are considered the happiest country on the planet. They're just definitely not. That's no matter the empirical data.
Spoken like a true neighbor. I love that.
Who loves
of
Finland?
Course,
again?
Of course. Well, this has been so wicked. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with us. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure. I just feel like I've let myself down. There was so much more that I wanted to say, not that I can come to think of, but yeah, I hope that people had a somewhat good time listening anyways.
There were so many good nuggets and insights, and yeah, well, I'll just have to do it again, I suppose, if there's more to say.
For sure. Happy to.
And then if people do want to find you or maybe learn more about the club, where is the best place for them to do that?
Well, any podcast player now. And the podcast is called Radio 1910. However, it is in Swedish only. So far, there could be a new AI service that could make it sound pretty good soonish. And at that point, I think we'll do that as well.
Well, thank you, Yoon. Tell the family we say hello.
Will do. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Yoon. Thank you for listening to the Unblock Yourself podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and rate the podcast. Your ratings and feedback mean the world to us. We'd love to stay connected with you via our bi-weekly newsletter called the VNF5, where we share ideas and advice that we found helpful on our own journey to live with more intention. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram. For those Gen Z listeners out there, no, we're not on TikTok. But if enough of you ask for it, we'll just have to do it at some point. The links to find us on social are in the show notes. The Unblock Yourself podcast is edited and produced by Bespoke Productions Hub. Thank you for being here.